All right, y'all. So I'm gonna do my little playoff prediction show. Obviously, we got to start where it all starts, which is the wild card round. There's a lot of good games coming up Saturday, Sunday, and one game on Monday. My like criteria or whatever for the picks I'm gonna make is kind of the defensive rankings, both through the air and on the ground. How good each team has defended throughout the season. I'm also factoring in like lightweight factoring in quarterback play, not enough to like write anything down about it, but just quarterback play off the top of the head type of thing. And then yeah, so defensive rankings, weather plays a factor in some of these games, not all, but I'm definitely gonna go with weather in some of these matchups because I think it will matter for some. So yeah. So with that said, we're gonna start in order and go with the Rams Saturday afternoon. They're pretty big favorites against this is a 5 versus 4 matchup, but the Rams are huge favorites. Just I think because of kind of pedigree at this point. Bryce Young, we don't even know if he'll be starting next year realistically. He got benched last year and all that stuff. Ended up coming back. It's hard to trust a Bryce Young to perform against a Super Bowl caliber team that is the LA Rams. So defensive rankings is where we really have to look here because the weather is going to be good on that game. The weather is going to be 71 degrees in Carolina. It's a home game for Carolina. They're still huge dogs on the at home, and I think with good reason. So yeah, let's see. So NFC, we got the Rams. So the Rams pass defense is the 19th ranked pass defense. And the beauty of this being going into the playoffs is not like this is week 5 and then the 19th ranked pass defense. Like, no. This is after how the entire season played out. They're the 19th ranked pass defense. You know, they're kind of primed to be a playoff rising defense though, because they're kind of like high grade mid in both categories. Okay. Now, Carolina is also kind of that high grade mid because they're the 15th ranked pass defense. Okay. So you can move the ball on them. Now, I got this ranking is purely off of passing yards and rushing yards. I'm not factoring in rushing touchdowns and passing touchdowns. What does factor that in is the overall defensive rankings that also factors turnovers and sacks, right? Pressures, all that stuff. But these stats that I base it off of are from profootballreference.com. I like the way they just chart everything out real clean. So that's what I kind of go to get an idea of matchups. Of course, you can't just go solely based off of that as well. You gotta sprinkle in a little bit of gut instinct, a little bit of the eye test. What have you watched on Sundays all year, type of thing. But yeah, so anyway, so LA's rush defense number 12, Carolina's rush defense number 20. So you see, they pretty much flip and flop. They're very even defensively, and offensively they're pretty even as well. I would say the main difference though, it comes down to that quarterback play, where Matthew Stafford, he's probably winning the MVP this year, and Bryce Young, again, he might be the backup quarterback next year. Who knows? I don't trust him until proven otherwise. I'm not gonna trust him, and I don't think you should either. So my pick is LA Rams. I'm not gonna do by a certain score. None of that. None of this is betting advice either. I'm not just saying that for YouTube guidelines. Like, I genuinely don't want anybody to spend their money based off of my opinion. This is simply for entertainment purposes. Anyways, though, next game, Green Bay, Chicago. Pass defense for Green Bay, number 11. Okay. Rush defense, number 18. So again, they're kind of that high grade mid. They're in a prime position to be playoff risers. They've actually had a lot of hype all season for being, more of a top 5 defensive talent, but they fall outside of top 10 when it comes down to the nitty gritty. Their overall defensive rating, though, let's see, where did they end up falling? So out of the 14 playoff teams in this first round, so not factoring all 16, obviously the 2 bye week teams have pretty strong defenses. with Denver and Seattle. But just the teams that are active this weekend, Green Bay is the eighth best defense. So, they're right around the middle of the pack for playoff defenses coming into the playoffs. So they very well, just like the Rams, or if Carolina pulls off a miracle and beats the Rams somehow, could be a playoff riser type of defense. I'm not projecting, you know, Green Bay's opponent's defense to rise though. I don't trust the Bears defense. I don't trust them based off of the stats. They've had some games where they play better than their ranking, but rematch the way Chicago beat Green Bay just a few weeks ago. I think Green Bay is not gonna be surprised by anything this time. They have a whole book on how to lose to you guys. So I think Green Bay is the better team slightly, but I think they're the better team. And the real reason because of that, even though I don't really trust Jordan Love, I also don't trust Caleb Williams yet. Just because simply now Caleb Williams, great season, especially compared to his rookie season. And year 3 might be scary time for him. He might take over the league. But he also might take a step back, like kind of like a CJ Stroud type of step back. We'll have to see. I think he kind of doesn't care enough to where he wouldn't become too conservative though. But anyway, so Chicago's passing defense number 22, rushing defense number 27. So they're more like bottom of the league, bottom bottom of the barrel on defense, and that's not a good sign. Even though they have the home field advantage, the weather is not really an advantage because Green Bay is used to playing in those conditions that Chicago will be hosting. And, I think this Green Bay team is probably ticked off. I know now the only thing is Green Bay does have some serious injury problems going on, and Chicago is the healthier team. I think it's going to be a close game, but I could see Green Bay pulling this one off and advancing on to the next round if I have to make a pick. So speaking of picks, so since I have to click on this, let me go ahead and my first pick is that and then that. Boom. All right. So technically, if you're just going off of rankings, that's the underdogs winning, but those teams are not the underdogs. Let's see. They on ESPN they have Green Bay as minus 1.5 for the money line type people, and the Rams minus 10.5. So that's pretty accurate because you really can't trust Bryce Young. He's kind of the weak spot on the team, and for the quarterback to be your biggest liability as far as skilled position offensive players, that's usually not a good sign for the playoffs. You want at least a guy that you can trust to be a great game manager. And I don't know if I can trust Bryce Young to be a great game manager, not with, playoff pressure on him. I would love to be wrong, but history with that guy so far has shown that I'm not. And so, yeah, this is, one of probably many first round wild card experiences for Bryce Young. But, yeah, until he gets more more games under his belt in this type of environment, can't trust the guy. Jordan Love, he's more trustworthy than Caleb Williams at this moment in time, and Caleb Williams doesn't have as good of a defense as Jordan Love has. So, Chicago is going to be put in bad positions more than Green Bay would be. And then so now we would go on to the Sunday morning game. Now this game is very fascinating to me. Now, to be fair, I have to be transparent with you guys. I hate the Buffalo Bills. I don't know why. I just never really liked them. They rubbed me the wrong way. But, obviously a lot of people would have Buffalo winning against Jacksonville just because we're used to seeing Buffalo win and then get and play the Chiefs and then lose. And the whole narrative this year is, if there's any year for Josh Allen to get to the Super Bowl, it's this year because there's no Patrick Mahomes. Now, that's all fine and dandy, but Jacksonville is actually the slight favorite here at minus 1.5. They're also obviously the home team for this Sunday morning game, and they are the number 3 seed overall on the AFC side, right? Weather, 64 degrees with a little bit of moisture, humidity. It is Florida after all, right? So maybe there'll be some fatigue issues for the Bills guys, but at least the weather won't be triggering too many injuries, right? For the most part, I'm no injury expert, but warmer is better than cold, right? As far as guys that have been battling injuries all year and stuff like that. Now, this matchup's interesting because Buffalo's ability to run the ball is obviously like top of the league, number one in the league is James Cook. He's the rushing king, rushing yards leader coming into the playoffs. But then Jacksonville's rush defense is the number one rush defense in the NFL. So they're giving up the fewest amount of rushing yards out of any team in the NFL. So that's a crazy matchup in itself. But then it gets deeper than that. When you look at Jacksonville's pass defense, they're ranked number 21, so kind of mid. But then Buffalo's rushing defense, fifth worst at number 28, with a number 7 pass defense, though. So Trevor Lawrence might have a big day. I was looking back. Now, these two teams don't always play each other in the regular season, but Trevor Lawrence actually has some success against the Buffalo Bills in the last few seasons, despite having coaching changes. And, so can't wait too much into the matchup of the past of like, oh, okay, well, the Jacksonville beat them in the regular season here and this and that, because it's a different coach each time. But in the most recent regular season matchup, they did get blown out by them. But why I'm intrigued by Jacksonville, and Jacksonville is my pick for this game, is one, they're hot at the right time. Two, I think their defense will defeat the elite running attack, because if you take away that running ability of James Cook, or does it take it away enough, don't allow the big 70-yard touchdown run, then you're in for a ball game. And I think Jacksonville is capable of doing that. And on top of that, Trevor Lawrence can duel. He has all the physical abilities to duel with any elite quarterback, any MVP caliber quarterback on any given Sunday. And I think that's exactly what we're in store for. I think this one's going to end up becoming a QB battle that, Trevor Lawrence, he's going to have to pick apart a top 10 pass defense, but I think he's capable. I think he's capable of that. And also in his college career's history, in big games, big matchups, he, I wouldn't say surprises team with his legs, but he ends up running a lot more than what we're used to seeing him do. I think he's going to not only extend plays, but even get north and south and pick up yards, chunk plays with his legs, a lot like we've seen in some of those Kansas City playoff rounds where Mahomes is out there, picking up 13 to 20 yards at a time with his legs, and kind of kill a team with 200 plus pass yards, 75 rushing yards, whatever combination of touchdowns, right? So I'm going Jacksonville. I think that's going to be the, so-called upset of the week, even though they are the slight favorite on certain books. Now, on from that game, we will be going to, let's see. I'm trying to go in order of when they'll air. I might get it wrong here, but I think I have to go to Sunday afternoon, right? Okay, another interesting one. 49ers versus Philadelphia at Philadelphia. Now, I'm just going to be straight up. I'm going Philadelphia. Now, the thing about going Philadelphia, I don't trust them. I don't trust them. The 49ers, they've been pulling off surprising games, especially with Robert Saleh back as the defensive coordinator. They've been shutting out teams and stuff in these big stage moments all season. They've had the injury bug all season. Of course, there's that crazy conspiracy going on about the proximity to like some type of power plant or whatever with the training facility and the stadium and all that, and how it's like a super unhealthy environment for the players, yada, yada, yada. I'm going Philadelphia. This is a very good matchup, though, in theory. However, San Francisco, they have the 12th defense out of 16 So not a very good overall defense. The weather here, it's a factor, I think. 42 degrees in the afternoon. That's not favorable towards San Fran, of course. San Fran, they're a pretty physical team. But with all the injury history, I wouldn't be surprised if they lose 3, 4 more players in this game as the game goes on, to even just like knick-knack injuries. And, that tent might be busy. I don't wish that on the players, but just their history and stuff, and then the conspiracy, it just shows that medical tent might be crowded. They might have to set up a couple tents. But and that also that plays into Philadelphia's play style as well. It's not all just because of the unfortunate nature of the 49ers the last 20 years or whatever. But so pass defense, San Francisco 25, so pretty bad. Rush defense, number 11, pretty good. Philadelphia's pass defense, number 8. Even though Brock Purdy at times can be kind of matchup proof, where he can light up teams that are top 10, top 15 defenses. We've seen it happen plenty of times in his tenure as the guy in San Fran. But then Philadelphia, did I say their pass defense? Yeah, number 8, said that. So rush defense, number 22. So McCaffrey, I think he'll have a good game regardless if it's a win or loss there. But I think the edge goes to Philadelphia, despite the 49ers being better at stopping the run than they are the pass. I think Jalen Hurts, when they need his arm, he's shown this season that he can, not necessarily beat a team with his arm, but he's not out here losing games with his arm either. He's doing just enough, and the receiver and tight end talent on Philadelphia is so good that some of these guys that are playing in college could win with this roster that Jalen Hurts has. So I think Philadelphia, they'll be getting on to the next round. And as you see, if I'm right about the NFC side of things, that divisional playoff round will be pretty interesting. I'm going to go ahead and pick all the way through to the Super Bowl, but not all in this video. I'm just doing the wild card weekend because you guys, I'm pretty long-winded. We're already at 17 minutes. That and, I'm going to pick with this original bracket, but I also want to do one where it's just round by round, just because the way the NFL seeding works. If I'm wrong on just like one of these matchups here, then this matchup here against the 1 seed is completely different, because it goes whatever the lowest seed winner is plays the number 1 seed. So it's not like guaranteed the winner of the 5 versus 6 or whatever it is, 5 versus 4, 6 versus 3 is guaranteed to play the number 1. It's just whichever one of these teams on the left is the lowest ranked seed last standing plays here. So Green Bay, no matter what, they know that if they win, they're going to play Seattle. But then everybody else, it matters, whoever, the outcome of the other 2 games matters. But anyways, let's jump over here. I'm trying to stay in order, like I said. So next up would be this one. LA Chargers, history of losing in the playoffs when they do make it, versus history of rings, history of Super Bowls with, the Patriots. Both of these teams are on a totally different regimen, though. Obviously, New England has all their rings under Bill Belichick, or all of their modern day rings under Bill Belichick, that is. And then the Chargers, they've kind of just been high grade mid their entire existence, and sometimes just low grade boof as well. This year they're high grade mid, and I think that trend will continue. I'm gonna make the pick now, so I'm very confident in this one that New England, they've been one of my favorite teams this year. They've been reliable. They've been consistent. They're very well coached. They're defensive minded, but their offense is also something to be feared. Now, what's funny is I could say the same exact thing about the Chargers. However, the injury bug always seems to plague the Chargers, and this year is no different. The quarterback is playing with only one hand. Luckily, I think his throwing hand is okay, but he's fresh off the surgery table still. So that one hand can bite them just off a fumbled snap or something. Who knows, right? Fumbled handoff, all types of things. But then on top of that, that Chargers have an elite defense, but the players that make up the elite defense, they're always mixing and matching because somebody's always getting hurt, this and that. The medical staff, the whole reason why Justin Herbert started as a rookie, almost killed the starting quarterback ahead of him, Tyrod Taylor. Literally almost cost that man his life. They poked the syringe through his lung and all that wild stuff. That's got to be a pretty big syringe, by the way. But weather report there, 35 degrees at New England. Was that afternoon? I think. Let me make sure. New England, where are you? New England. Sunday night. So as that game goes on, it's probably going to get a little colder too. It's going to start off 35 degrees, maybe. And then, it's going to be 32, 30, maybe even 29, 28 degrees by the time it's halfway through the third quarter. The Chargers are only going to get worse as the game goes along, I think. They might put up, a touchdown early, but that's all they're good for is a touchdown early. All season long, they score a touchdown early in the opening drive or whatever, and then Justin Herbert forgets how to throw to his main targets. He's going to be throwing to some random dude out there who hasn't suited up all season or some whatever weirdo stuff. Herbert and Harborough can chalk up, or they're going to just be trying to spam the ball to Amari and Hampton, who's like forcing himself back from injury to play in this game. I don't trust them. New England's defense is pretty good. Just like the Chargers' defense is pretty good. This is a low-scoring game for sure. I don't see this one becoming a shootout. But Chargers pass defense, number 5, so that's great. Rush defense, number 8. That's also great. Top 10. This is the battle of top 10 defenses. Pass defense for New England, number 9. Rush defense, number 6. Cool. I'm going. So this is where it comes down to quarterback and others, right? So I think receiving core, both receiving rooms are nice. Both receiving rooms are kind of similar. They got the vet with Keenan Allen and Stephon Diggs, and they got the young guys that are all like proving themselves. I think the best young receiver is Lad McConkey as far as this matchup, but Justin Herbert decides to throw him the ball twice a lot of the times and never go back to him despite how good the guy is. And then they have that tight end that's emerging, but then he disappeared for the last 3 games of the season. So I don't know if we can trust that connection. And I think the Patriots have the stable at running back. They got Ramondre Stevenson. They got Travion Henderson from Ohio State, dynamic rookie. And I forget who the third back is, but they have more of a stable at running back than the Chargers do because Najee Harris decided to play with fireworks in the offseason and almost ended his own career. So that stable that could have been is not a thing at all. It's just, let's hope Amari and Hampton can get it done. Otherwise, this Vidal guy is going to have to come in here. And then the dude behind him, they have a lot of bodies, but the only ones that are real game changers is a rookie. So we don't know. He might fumble it 3 times in this weather. Who knows? He's a freaking rookie. At least if Henderson starts playing bad or whatever for New England, they can just put Stevenson in and he's at least going to pass block at the very least and let Drake May go out there and try to be Superman. But that's the thing. I don't think Drake May is going to have to be Superman. This is one of those things where first team to score 3 times, regardless if it's a field goal, touchdown, or safety, probably going to win. Whatever combination of scoring 3 times, that's all it's going to take. It's going to be a defensive battle. I think the Patriots are just a little more suited for that, especially with it being at home. And, the Chargers, they find ways to lose. And I think they will find a way to lose on Sunday night. And that takes us to the final game of the wild card round. Monday. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do this one at the end because this one is tricky. This one's just as tricky to me as that Green Bay-Chicago matchup, maybe even a little more tricky. Because if you talk about quarterbacks that I do not trust, C.J. Stroud, He's high on the list. He's not at the very top of the list, but he's almost at the top of the list. And the reason I say that is because you don't know which CJ Stroud you're gonna get, stats wise. Are we gonna get 115 yards on 21 attempts, which that's not cutting it. Maybe one touchdown, maybe none, maybe an interception, maybe none. I don't know. It's too much maybe around CJ Stroud. Which version of CJ we're gonna get? Once the book was out on him, he hasn't looked the same since. So how long will it take for him to improve? I don't know, but it's not gonna happen in the playoffs. Even though he does have a good opportunity. Pittsburgh's pass defense is terrible. They're ranked number 29. Even though they have lots of names, it's kind of the senior citizen home of the NFL. Jalen Ramsey and these names. We saw them get beat deep very embarrassingly in the last game of the regular season. Those two deep passes on drives in a row from Lamar Jackson, the Ravens, to Zay Flowers, where it's like, wow, just high school levels of busted coverage. So I'm not sold on Jalen Ramsey at this current age that he is, and the rest of those guys either. I'm not sold on T.J. Watt if he's even playing. I never know what his status is. I don't trust him to be able to get pressure on Stroud consistently. I don't trust the DBs to be able to cover consistently. One of those Iowa State receivers will probably have a 3-touchdown game. Nico Collins, I think he might freeze out there, just being a decoy, because the weather is a factor with Pittsburgh, with the game being at Pittsburgh. That's the only real reason why I'm even hesitant, because they're going to be starting off at 36 degrees on Monday night. So again, it's going to get colder as the night goes on. Houston's not really used to playing in the cold. Yes, they're the number one overall defense in the NFL this year, though. Defense usually travels. Will they be able to get to Aaron Rodgers? I don't know. He managed to not let Myles Garrett get the sack record on him because he knows how to get rid of the ball quickly. Granted, some of those were throwaways. He knows how to be petty enough to do that. And, the guy knows how to win. It's harder to trust him in this current age that he is, with his current ability or lack thereof. But the dude is a winner. He knows how to win. The whole point of him coming to a team that could, just make it to the dance is that he knows how to 1-2 step at the end of the day. He knows how to keep it simple and kind of be old faithful in a way. I'm leaning Pittsburgh because of the quarterback play. But let me finish breaking it down, because really I'm about to make up my mind as I talk through this. So Houston's pass defense in particular, number 6. Their rush defense, number 4. Pittsburgh, 29 pass defense and 13 rush defense. That makes me want to pick Houston. That makes me want to say Woody Marks is going to have a good game, and one of those Iowa State rookies is going to have a good game. And the tight end for Houston probably gonna go off, right? Because the Pittsburgh defensive rankings are scary and not in a good way. But then Houston, obviously their rankings great. What's his face? I almost called him Ben Roethlisberger. Might as well be Big Ben. Aren't they darn near the same age? But Aaron Rodgers should be a little worried. I don't know if he can get it done. I don't think he has enough left in the tank to get this one done. But who knows? Can't count the old dog out until he's out. However, Pittsburgh, it took them forever to commit to the run against Baltimore. It took them a halftime break. They didn't commit to the run until after halftime against Baltimore to close the season. So I don't know what they got going on as far as X's and O's. They might come out tripping and trying to pass the ball to their 4 tight end sets. I'm all for physical football, but playing physical football via not running the ball a lot and just spamming it to tight ends and hoping for the best, that's not really the best formula either. You need a little more balance than that. And then DK Metcalf, who knows, is he going to just be double covered the whole time? They say, whatever, beat us with your tight ends, which is what everyone's been saying all season. and then Houston wins. Or will DK Metcalf actually do something? Will Warren get enough touches, or even Gainwell? Gainwell played pretty well. Will he get enough touches for it to matter, though? I don't know. I don't understand what Pittsburgh is even. Why are they the number 4 seed? I don't care. I feel like they shouldn't be the number 4 seed, but they are. They have the home game. The home field advantage will be a factor, but at the end of the day, on the last pick for wild card weekend, and the last pick I'm using data for, man, it's just hard to go against a team that plays defense as well as these guys. I can see CJ Stroud not doing enough. He's like slightly better than Bryce Young, honestly. But I feel like he actually can kind of be more of like a modern day Joe Flacco, Trent Dilfer, Jay Cutler. I feel like CJ Stroud is a much more talented version of those guys, and he can do enough to get out of the first round at least. And there you go, boom. And so real quick, I feel like I get through this round real quick. Granted, I do want to do another video if any of this changes. If I'm wrong with how the wild card goes here, then follow up for sure. If not, I might be able to let it ride. No, Russell Wilson. I don't like Russell Wilson. Speaking of not liking Russell Wilson, the Broncos sure are happy they listened to their coach and moved on from him. That's an easy win for them. Well, easy win in Broncos terms means like 16-13 or some weird shit like that. But I think the Broncos will make CJ Stroud lose the game. Defense versus defense. They'll have enough plays from the defense and enough good field position for Bo Nix to be able to figure it out for a drive or two, which is all he's really asked to do. Speaking of Jay Cutler-esque players, or just, elite game managers that have great defenses that they can just ride, and you just have to not turn over the ball. I think Bo Nix can figure that out for a few games and probably get to the Super Bowl. Who knows? Really depends on what goes on. We'll stay in the AFC here. This is a great matchup if it happens. Going to New England will be a big factor, though. And I'm sold on this New England team. I am sold on this New England team, not going to lie. So, boom, I think that's the conference championship in the AFC, 1 versus 2, just like they would want it. Plus, it's cool. It's like a changing of the guard. 2 young quarterbacks trying to get here for the first time, That would be cool to see. I think the script usually leans towards things that are cool to see. But, somebody might be a script buster. I don't think Houston has enough on offense as far as what's under center. The quarterback, I don't know if C.J. Stroud is that guy, because you have all the receivers you could want. You have a great tight end. You have an elite defense. And I'm just not impressed by what I've seen this season from Stroud. I'm really not. Now, gets tricky. This is where it gets trickier. You got this matchup again. Probably a snow game again. Can the Rams overcome this? The way they ended the season, I'm hesitant to say yes. Green Bay, Seattle. I feel like that's a tougher matchup than the rankings would imply, right? 2 elite defenses, 2 offenses that don't technically have a weakness on paper. That's a tough matchup. That's a tough matchup. Do I trust Sam Darnold in this matchup? Will he throw a costly pick? He threw a costly pick in their last game that I watched them when they beat the Rams, but then he came out and did what needed to be done as well. And he was looking real accurate, really impressive against the Rams. Was the last game I watched of Seattle play. Jackson Smith Njigba, probably the best receiver in football, even though the stats go to Puka. I think just impact-wise, Smith probably got him beat, even though Puka's great too. His impact is very impactful. However, Seattle, oh man, this is tough. I'm going Seattle. I think Green Bay's defense is underperforming. I wouldn't say they're overrated. I think they're rated highly for a reason. They're supposed to be top 5 in both rush and pass yards, fewest allowed, but they're not. They're more of the high grade mid, like that real good right below top shelf, but not quite. So therefore I have to go Seattle because Seattle's defense is the truth. I think Jordan Love will throw 2 or 3 interceptions, indoor fumbles, whatever combination, 3 turnovers from Jordan Love, and Seattle probably would win in a close one. Might come down to a field goal type of thing. But yeah, Seattle. Here, though, this is where it gets tricky. The rematch, they only lost by like a score last year, being LA. In the snow, you got to go back to the Snow Kings, one of the Snow Kings. Ooh. I could flip a coin on this and not be mad at either pick. I do have LA bias, even though I don't actually care about either LA team for real. I do still slightly want to say, oh yeah, LA. But it's hard to bet against the champs too. It's hard to pick against the champs. And both of these teams have champion DNA though. They both have championship DNA. They both have championship coaches that know how to get to the mountaintop and how to finish things off. This might be in for game of the year. Dang, I really don't know. So I'm gonna, man, I almost actually want to flip a coin because I really don't know which of these teams I like more. I feel like Philadelphia, they have their internal issues, but talent-wise, both teams kind of line up the same, despite the play style being completely different for both. Philadelphia's defense, though, I feel like Philadelphia's defense is slightly better than the Rams. I got to go back to my sheet for that, though. Go back to my sheet. So the Rams, 19-12. Philly. Where did I write Philly? Oh, right there. 8-22. That's interesting. So, I guess Philly is... Let me see the overall defensive ratings. Because that kind of factors in turnovers and stuff like that, too. 9, 11. Yeah, Philadelphia is literally number 9, and Rams are number 11 in the playoff defensive rankings. Wild card, not counting in the 1 seeds defenses. Okay, well... Oh wow! I'm sorry for the hesitancy. I hate it, but I'll go Eagles. I'll go Eagles on that. I really hate to say I'll go Eagles on that, but I'll go Eagles on that. And that gives a little more variety, so we don't have to see that rematch. Even though that would be a cool rematch of the Rams versus Seattle. They basically played a playoff game to see who would get the 1 seed, and the Rams lost just barely, but they lost. Now, this is where it gets tricky again. Who's going to the bowl? To the big Super Bowl? Patriots or Broncos? Patriots would have to go to Denver. The weather wouldn't really be a factor because they're both used to those conditions. Which team will be healthier at this point matters. This is where quarterback play comes into play for me because both defenses are elite. And I feel like Drake May is just better than Bo Nix. If you ask Drake May to go out there and win you a game to get to the Super Bowl versus asking Bo Nix to do it, I feel like we've seen more out of May than we've seen out of Nix. Nix has had moments. He's had games where it's like, oh, you could do that? But Drake May has just been better. He's an arguable MVP. He's probably going to finish second in MVP voting. If third, almost for sure. If he's any lower than that, I don't know. So yeah, Patriots get to the bowl. Now will it be against the Seahawks or the Eagles? I feel like that's where the defensive rating comes back to bite the Eagles. It's just kind of crazy to think that Sam Darnold is in the Super Bowl. I don't know. And Jalen Hurts, hate to be all cliche, but the dude knows how to win. He does know how to win. He's done it at every level of his career. He's been a winner. Seattle's defense is very good. They're good at stopping the run. They're even better at stopping the pass. Philadelphia likes to run, but they can pass. Ah, man, that's tough. The way Seattle gets it done is a lot more like traditional offense than Philadelphia's. And, Seattle, they have a very, 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 very talented defense. Very dominant defense. Dang. It's tough to pick against Jalen Hurts, though, at this moment in time. It is. If I'm going based off a quarterback play, I'm leaning towards the Eagles. If I'm going off of overall team offense and defensive rankings, I'm leaning towards Seattle. Will their running backs be healthy? Will Charbonnet and Walker both be healthy at this point? Who knows? Can't predict injuries, right? And they do have a slightly easier time with the bye week and stuff, even though they'll have to face a very good Green Bay team in my prediction. To heck with it. I guess that's the bowl right there. I guess. It really could be either one of these two, though. I'm not confident in the Bird Bowl. I'm not confident in the winner of that. It could be either Bird versus the Patriots. But, if this matchup happens, I'm going New England. I'm going New England. All right, y'all. And that's the video. Thanks for watching Just Sports. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.